I switched over to the Pocket because I was tired of carrying around this gigantic TX16S. Okay, so maybe you're in the same situation that I am and you're trying to figure out what to do. I would encourage you to give the Pocket a try, bottom line. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video on RCwithAdam.com. My name is Adam, and today we're taking a look at 4 different transmitters here. Mainly, I want to compare the size difference for the RadioMaster Pocket, because I have shown all these different radios previously on other videos, but the RadioMaster Pocket is a newer kind of budget radio, and it's very small, and so this is going to be kind of my review of this radio. But also, I mainly want to give you size comparison stuff. And guess what? This video is sponsored by PCBWay. Prototype the easy way. PCBWay makes custom printed circuit boards. That's what PCB stands for. And they have thousands of options to choose from, of circuit board types, little circuit board electronics that you put on your circuit board. And hey, if you have a design for a circuit board, you can send that circuit board design to them, and they can print that circuit board and make it and put all the components on there and test that circuit board before they even send that circuit board to your door. And in case you didn't know, I'm trying to see how many times I can say circuit board. But if circuit boards aren't your thing, they also offer rapid prototyping services to include CNC machining, sheet metal injection, and 3D bending. No, that doesn't sound right. CNC machining, 3D printing, injection molding, and sheet metal bending. And they can do it in all kinds of materials for your selected project. So you can send your design file to them, and they go doop, 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 and then they'll see if they can do it, and then they'll get back to you with a quote, and then you're like, okay, cool, let's do it. And then they'll work on that and send it right to you. So if you're working on a project and that sounds interesting to you, I'll have a link to them down in the description below this video where you can check them out. So first, let's do size comparison, and then we'll talk about the radio. Some kind of size comparisons here. I'm going to call it 100 millimeters from one stick to the other stick. I'm going to call it 40 millimeters, the distance from the center of the stick to the edge of the transmitter. Overall, the transmitter is over 154 millimeters, and it's also just gigantic. Another thing is weight. TX16S coming in hot at 950 grams. That's about as much as like a fully heavily loaded freestyle quad. Next up, we have the old school Flysky. Here's what it looks like. Here are my hands next to it. And here are my hands on the sticks. Stick distance, we're looking at 104, so actually more. I'm gonna call it 32, 33 millimeters. Right around 473 grams, so about half the weight. Interesting. And that's just for reference because I'm not comparing those two. They're totally different transmitters. Then we have the TX12. This is what I switched to because I wanted something smaller than the TX16S, but then I ended up going back to the TX16S for a few different reasons. One is just because I hate the switch layout. Why would you put switches here, down here, and then you put buttons here? And then these switches are okay. That's fine. That's pretty much all I'd ever use. But then you put these little sliders on the side. Like, what are you talking about? 77 millimeters, stick distance, 34, edge distance on the TX12. Without a battery, TX12 coming in hot at 405. And now, we have the RadioMaster Pocket right here. And look at this, I didn't take off the screen protector yet. I'm gonna do it just for you guys so you don't have to look at it in this video. There we go, boom. I know some people get super excited about that kind of stuff. So, this is what it looks like with my hands on it. I'd actually flip that up if I was using it. 80 millimeters stick distance center to center. And the edge distance, it's going to be a little trickier on this one. But we're looking at roughly 30 millimeters. RadioMaster Pocket coming in hot at 428 grams. So less than half the weight of the TX16S. Now, let's get to the RadioMaster Pocket, and I'm going to kind of compare this a little bit and contrast it with the RadioMaster TX16S. And the reason being is that I switched over to the Pocket because I was tired of carrying around this gigantic TX16S. Okay, so maybe you're in the same situation that I am and you're trying to figure out what to do. I would encourage you to give the Pocket a try, bottom line. I just realized I was not using almost any of the features on the TX16S. I mean, for one, you have a giant screen right here, which for the longest time I did not even know was touchscreen, but apparently it is. So that's interesting, right? It is, right? Can you touch stuff? Wait, page. All right, so mine is not a touchscreen. I think I needed to update it or something like that. That's neither here nor there. All these little crow's feet switches, like what? Like that sounds cool to have 1,000 switches, but like, what am I going to use them for? This switch over here, this one, this one, this one. These little position thingies, this, and then these little knobs. And so I'm over here basically, for the most part, going, okay, arming my quad and switching into air mode. Cool. Disarming. Arming. Disarming. And using sticks. And that's basically it. So I'm like, all right, this is dumb. I don't want to lug this around. Obviously, if you're using the screen and using the features, that's super cool. The Pocket is my daily driver right now, and it is just so much more convenient. Now, I am a, what do they call it, modified pinch gripper. So I do my thumbs on top and my pointer fingers to support, and I find that gives me the best control, and I like that. And I have no problem using this transmitter. The switches on here, let's talk about the switches, because they're not too bad, but there are some issues sometimes. For example, so we have clicky switches instead of toggle switches, okay? So toggle switches are like these big guys right here. They're got a big long piece of metal sticking out, and that's cool. The downside to this is that they can, stick out too much. They can damage things. They can get damaged, stuff like that, or maybe get inadvertently switched more easily, potentially. On the plus side, it's really easy to tell where the switch is. Okay, so on the RadioMaster Pocket here, we have, and I'm not going to get into like the features and stuff. It's running Edge TX. We're mostly talking about ergonomics. We have a clicky switch. So it's like click on, click off. We have a 3-position switch here. So 1, 2, 3. Those are the 3 different positions. Same on this side. And same over here. We have another clicky switch on the right-hand side. Okay. And then we have a momentary switch that's spring-loaded to, turn off, or I guess on, depending on how you have it set. And then we have a little scroll wheel right here, okay? So that's pretty cool, and that's a nice scroll wheel. It gives you some feedback clicks, and it stays in place nicely, so I like that. It doesn't show you visually where the center is, so I may need to modify that, but that's fine, because I rarely ever use it. On the front here, we have a teeny tiny little screen, and that's totally fine, because really, once I set up my switches how I want them, and that's just a few switches, and they're all going to be the same for all the quads that I fly. And this is basically just for flying quads, because I find that kind of ended up being what I would do all the time, and I just wouldn't really ever fly planes. So, but you could absolutely fly planes with this. It's just I realized that I needed to optimize for what I was actually doing. So let's turn this on. It says, welcome to Edge TX. So you have the little screen. I don't even need the screen at all, hardly, once I set it up, because guess what? Once you get the goggles on, there's no screen to look at, okay? So it doesn't matter if you're flying FPV drones, it doesn't really matter what kind of screen you have or how big it is. So let's talk about the switches here. So I was playing around with arming the quad, how to arm the quad, which switches to use for which modes, and that sort of thing. And I've gone through a few different versions of how I like to have my switches and modes and stuff. But I've simplified it a lot to be just the ones that I use most often. When I started out doing this, I thought, I'll use the clicky switch to arm and disarm. Well, the problem with that I don't like is that it's hard to tell whether you've activated the clicky switch or not. And I feel like it'd be too likely to inadvertently press it. You see how easy it is to turn on the light? Like, you don't actually have to press it all the way down for it to turn on. It just lock. You have to press it all the way down for it to lock. So I was a little concerned that I might accidentally disarm the quad while in flight. So then I tried some other ideas about using, like you press the momentary switch and then press that clicky switch to arm it and disarm. But then I found that was just too complicated, and the risk wasn't great enough, either inadvertently turning it on the ground or inadvertently disarming during flight, to warrant having a secondary switch. I'm okay with having a secondary switch, but in this particular case, it just didn't work out that well, and it just didn't seem necessary. And the other thing, because it sounds like a great idea to have a secondary switch to arm, so meaning, and there are a few different ways that you can do this in Betaflight. None that I really prefer exactly, so that's why I ended up not doing it. But for example, so you'd press the momentary switch and then press the arm switch, okay? But then the problem is disarming. I couldn't figure out a good way of just making it do the reverse. So it would basically be like you press that to arm and then press that. You press the momentary and then press the clicky switch to arm. Okay, but then to disarm, you just press the clicky switch. And I'm like, well, I don't want that because that's too easy to disarm. I'd rather just have it where I do both, and I do both fingers. But another issue that I ran into is that if I'm holding the transmitter, like I'm actually flying, in which I'm kind of holding it like this, and so I find that I sort of put my middle fingers above the switch, kind of rest it on that ledge, and normally I'd have this. So now, this is my arming switch, this first toggle switch, this left toggle, okay, or switch B, it's labeled here. So down is to fly, and then on the right hand side are my flight modes. So I have when it's up, or most the one closest to me, that's going to be auto level mode, and then down one is going to be acro mode, and then down another one is going to be acro mode with air mode. So that's mostly what I will fly in. Sometimes you want to turn off air mode, like maybe you're coming into land or something, or you might want to go to auto level mode. Or if you lose video or something, you might want to switch to auto level mode quickly as well. So that's really pretty much all that I use right now. And then I think I have the momentary right now set up as a beeper. You got to make sure that how you hold the transmitter is actually going to make sense for your buttons, because I found that it was actually really hard to pull my fingers back and press the momentary button, especially if I was trying to press the clicky button or the momentary, really. So it just felt very unnatural, especially maybe I'm coming in, I'm trying to do a precision landing, but I need to disarm quickly. It just felt like it wasn't responsive enough to do the clicky button. So I just didn't like that. So I like the tactile feel of the switch. And I know I'm rambling and stuff, but I think this might be useful information for somebody out there. So this antenna that comes built in is for the ELRS built-in module. So that's the one I got. You can get this in either I want to say a 4-in-1, so basically multi-protocol or ELRS. And I realized well, I don't even need multi-protocol, and if I do need multi-protocol, that's why I'm keeping the TX16S around. But really, for all the drones that I fly right now every single day, it's going to be Crossfire. So that's all that I need. So this antenna is just on there, and it's not in the way. It folds down. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I could just take it off, or maybe just do a little modifying and just put this in there. No, that wouldn't really help at all. But I might just take this off just to get that out of the way, because I don't use the ELRS. But I thought, maybe I will get into the ELRS at some point, especially if I want to do whoops or something for fun, or if I just eventually make the switch over there. So I ended up getting that one. And then this on the back here, it just has the smaller transmitter module bay. This is a Nano TX. So that just slides in there like so. That works out nicely. On the back, it does kind of, there's not a whole lot of room exactly for your fingers to go when this module's in there. But I have not found that I inadvertently pressed the module at all, so that's good. And I think if you were using thumbs, it's really, it's more intended for thumbing, but yeah, it would work fine for thumbing, I think. I think it definitely would, and you'd have a little, I don't know, it might, I guess it depends on how you hold it. To be honest, there are a bunch of other features that I'm not going to mention here because I probably forgot them, and I just don't use a lot of those features every day. So I'm much more concerned about the ergonomics of the transmitter, because this is your interface with your drone. So if this is uncomfortable, the drone flying experience is going to be uncomfortable as well. Oh, and then you can unscrew the sticks from the actual gimbals. Okay, uses that little guy, and I think that's a smaller. It's a smaller than standard type of thread, so you can't use just any. You got to make sure it's going to fit on this one. I don't know what that is at the moment. And then those they can store back here in the thing here. And then the idea is you fold down your antenna, and then you can shove it in your pocket. But I don't ever do that. Plus, I have this module on the back, which makes it a little tiny bit bigger, but it's still very, very compact. And usually what I do is I'll just put gimbal protectors on here, so that way I don't have to fiddle around with screwing in little threads. So it does make it a little bit more bulky, but compare it to the TX16S, I mean, my goodness gracious, the TX16S is gigantic. It weighs over twice as much than the Pocket, and it has over twice as many knobs and switches and features that I don't use. So also the gimbals are smaller. I think these feel really good. They feel really smooth. They don't feel too tight, which, you know, you can adjust that stuff, but these feel okay. This is not the smoothest right here. I'm noticing the throttle's not super smooth. I almost feel like that maybe could be tighter to feel a little more responsive. It is a bit, yeah, it's a bit tighter on the 16S, definitely smoother. But we are working with larger gimbals, and I think nicer as well. I don't think these are Hall. Are these the Hall sensors? I can't remember what that uses, but hey, here's the thing, right? Functionally, they're the same. I have not noticed any difference, you know, in my flight performance going to the Pocket. What I have noticed though is that I'm more likely to fly and more likely to enjoy it when I don't have this super heavy thing, which, by the way, this is actually super heavy, and you're going to have it around your neck probably. So having a super heavy thing dangling around your neck is not great. So this one is so much better for all those reasons. If you are thinking about getting the RadioMaster Pocket, I would say definitely check it out. I'd give it a shot, because it's just a really good compact transmitter. It pretty much checks all the boxes, at least for me. And maybe the best part is that the price of the Pocket is, I want to say it's somewhere around $60, maybe even towards $50. I don't know. I'll put the prices up of these things, but that's going to be at least half as much as the 16S, I believe, the TX16S. So I'll put that up, and maybe I'll put some links down in the description as well. Anywho, those are just some thoughts of mine about the RadioMaster Pocket. You let me know in the comments down below what transmitter you're using, and whether you've tried the RadioMaster Pocket or not, and what you think about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Get out there and fly something, and I'll bet you'll feel better. If you're not feeling super great right now, I'll bet you go fly something and you'll feel better. Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye!